Welcome back to The Verdict, our elections videos, where we bring you all things elections. The first round of the general elections is scheduled for tomorrow. It's going to be a big day. But you know, on this day, last week, I was saying almost the same thing, but
it'll be better. It'll be better from now onwards. I know. I can imagine.
But you know, there are those who woke up like you when you woke up and saw the message. Oh dear, what's happening?
What happened?
You know, it was just a few hours to that day.
And it doesn't get any better when you see the headline on the front page of the Daily Independent: why elections may not hold in some areas.
Well,
we don't want to nurse any fears. We don't want to nurse any. No, people want these elections to happen tomorrow. Let us be done with the presidential elections
and then
wait
the
National Assembly elections, and then wait next 2 weeks in March, and then do the governorship and the state houses of assembly elections. Election results come out. Everybody accepts. Those who will celebrate will celebrate. Those who will be defeated will accept defeat, just like President Goodluck Jonathan did. And then life goes on.
But you know, a little history doesn't hurt anybody. So let's take you back to what transpired just last week here, when many woke up thinking that they were going to go on. But here was what they woke up to on the day.
Following a careful review of the implementation of its logistics and operational plan, and the determination to conduct free, fair, and credible elections, the Commission came to the conclusion that proceeding with the election as scheduled is no longer feasible.
Yeah, so ever since then, as they say, a lot of water has passed under the bridge, and we're here now. But you know, also a little bit of history. In 2011, you know, many remember what transpired. It was also shocking, because it was a little odd and different, because election had begun.
Had begun at that time, and then INEC had to postpone the election, stop the elections, and postpone it for about 48 hours. After which the elections came back on track, and then it proceeded. That experience in 2011 was a bitter pill for a lot of people, because they had already gone into the process. But after that, the next election cycle in 2015 saw the elections postponed for, I think it was about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the slide there. You can see that.
Yeah, that's for 2015.
Yes, in 2015 it was postponed for 6 weeks. And boy, did we get so tired. People were just so apprehensive, people were expectant, and all of that energy was being, you know, galvanized and concentrated into one big ball for the country to really get to that point where after the 6 weeks, you remember that one was because of security concerns. The NSA said that it couldn't guarantee the security of life and property across the country, and the president had to get to that point where the elections were postponed for 6 weeks. This is 2019. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know,
it took a hike. It took a very big hike, and then it plummeted, and then we're having a week's postponement now.
I think something very, very instructive was that in each of these situations, the people were well galvanized before the elections, and you know what we do? We come here,
we're very elastic
rev up the engine, and then
we take a lot.
Yeah, sorry,
we take a lot in this country. People look back and say,
that's why
they say the resilience of the Nigerian spirit.
That's why they say that
what is working for
resilient.
us. Just like Prof was just saying now, he said that he still believes that elections will come, it will be peaceful, and we will move.
Yeah, but Prof, do these leaders take liberty for license because they feel Nigerians were very resilient, and so some of them think they can do anything and get away with it? Do you think so?
Yes, there's some brinkmanship in Nigerian politics. But we're so lucky that we go to the gorge and we look at the depth of the relief, and we pull back this great compromise of Nigeria. But in terms of being taken for granted, I don't want to sound like a prophet of doom or a pessimist, but I remember talking about Murphy's Law in one of my lectures, the Gani Farimi lectures on 15th of January. And what Murphy's Law states is that if things can go wrong, they will go wrong. And so those who are aware of Murphy's Law ought to have devised a plan B. What if things don't go as planned, if they go all right, then you must have some position, which it seems we don't normally have in Nigeria. I mean, this repetition from 2007 to 11, and now again, yet again, it seems it's now part of our DNA that we don't seem to be able to get things right. And it's not very complimentary. In fact, after last week, after the postponement, I got reporters calling me, news agency of Nigeria, all sorts of people asking for my opinion. And well, I was playing with the reporter as it was a text message type thing. I think, I said, have you read Marx? That's a famous work by Karl Marx, the 13th of Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte, where Marx said that the first time history repeats itself is a tragedy. The second time is a farce. I said, now, I don't know what to say about our own country, because everybody was embarrassed. I believe the chairman of INEC too was quite embarrassed. And because I knew him at the confab, where he was head of administration. And he carried himself well, and then a product of the Oxbridge tradition and all that. But in Nigeria, never say never, it seems. But I think despite the steep learning curve that we have, I want to join Professor Yakubu in praying, hoping, and wishing that this is the very last time that we're going to dance naked on the streets.
But you know, Professor Jagam said a similar thing, that he hopes, you know, when he kept on assuring the country that he was going to hold, but eventually we saw those adjustments. So at that time, it appeared as though he wanted to hold elections, but certain things were just not all in unison, as it were. Now, in this case, I mean, you know Professor Mahmoud Yakub, but some other people said, well, they know him, that it appeared as though he wanted to go ahead, but there were other things that just didn't seem to align. And then in one of the briefings he had, he spoke about that we really need to have a conversation about election management in this country if we needed to move forward. What aspect, what should we be focusing on in that kind of scenario?
Well, the silver bullet, some people have said, is electronic voting. That we have to move on up to the standards of advanced democracies so that we engage in electronic voting, do away with ballot papers, ballot boxes, and then the elections, the results, transmission, collation, everything should be digitalized. So like you have in Europe or in America, the machines. And Professor Oyebode Awujobi, late of the University of Lagos, designed a voting machine for elections at the university, elections to Senate and what have you. Look, this is not rocket science. But now in the 21st century, we can't go to antediluvian approaches. I don't think we should celebrate primitivity. We have to move on up, step up again, so that in a few hours after the elections have held, channels could be making projections as to who is most likely to win.